All right. For the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. She is the author of the upcoming memoir, Angel in Arlington, no other than Miss Alicia Johnson Niles.
Hi, so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Alicia. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, like I said, I'm Allicia Johnson Niles. I'm the surviving daughter of Lieutenant Burr N. Johnson III, who was killed by homicide when he was 28 years old. I was 2 years old at the time. And it's just basically it's a story about how his death impacted my life, and it's also a book that gives people permission to grieve and to heal. It kind of goes into it's a lot. It's a combination of a true crime, um, coming of age, strength, and also conspiracy. There's a lot to it. So and I'm
Yes, definitely. And Miss Alicia Johnson Niles, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And what inspired you to write Angel in Arlington, and what personal experiences shaped its creation?
oh my goodness. A lifetime of grief. That sounds really heavy, but it's basically I felt like I needed to. I had this really powerful experience where it's just like I had a lifetime of some painful but really, really powerful and really incredible experiences growing up, where over time I started to have these feelings that my dad was around and I questioned them. And they became strong enough and it led me to like the feelings that I had led me to answer questions that nobody knew. It led me to actually confront my two biggest fears being the Navy and my dad's killer. My dad's killer, growing up, I mean, he was killed when I was 2 years old. I have no memories of him at all. And so, because of that, I didn't think I had the right to miss him. I questioned any feelings I had about him. Didn't believe I had a connection with him. And over time, I realized that nothing could be further from the truth. I also, from the time I can remember, had this irrational fear that my dad's killer was at large. You got to understand, they told my family very, very, very little. The U.S. Navy, the military, it's they are veiled in secrecy a lot, and there's a reason for it, and I respect it. But they told my family so little that I always questioned. I'm like, well, where's the guy who killed him? What happened? And I had this secret irrational fear my whole life that my dad's killer was at large, and I found out many years later that he actually was. So it's to answer your question, what inspired me to do it. I started writing the book after I started digging into what happened, after I started to grieve my father's death, after I started to allow that connection. And then as I was working towards getting answers and figuring out, honestly bringing justice to my family and my dad, that's when I started writing the book. I'm like, this has gotta, I've got to do something about this. I need to share
Definitely.
this. So
Definitely. And Miss Alicia, can you share the central theme or message of Angel in Arlington?
the central theme is unlikely courage. I have another website, unlikelycourage.com. And the root of that is you've got the power in you to achieve huge and amazing things, even if you think that you absolutely do not, even if you're terrified of your own shadow. Once you face your demons, that unlikely courage is going to propel you forward. And so it's just the central theme is helping empower people to, this is going to sound so generic, but to embrace the life that they've always wanted, but also um, by sharing my story, I hope that other people will know that they can change their life tremendously and that there are resources out there and that things really can change. Like the impossible really can happen.
Definitely. There's nothing impossible, people.
Mhm.
And who is the angel in the title, and what role does this character play in the story?
Angel is kind of It's kind of both. It's primarily my dad, whereas I felt him in the book. It talks about how I felt that connection. I felt his guidance, and it also, in a sense, it refers to me as well. Um, I didn't growing up, like I said, I didn't feel like I felt connection to him, but at the same time, it's like I didn't feel that deep, powerful grieving that like I didn't feel like I knew him until I went back to his grave in Arlington National Cemetery when I was 17 years old. And so Angel in Arlington is kind of that moment where I saw his grave for the first time and kind of like the two angels connected, sort of. That sounds so weird saying out loud, but it's just like, this naive, innocent um, daughter sees her dad's grave, and it's just like I felt his spirit so strong. So it's the angel is both of us, but it's mostly him. So
What kind of reader do you envision connecting most deeply with Angel in Arlington?
primarily anyone who has gone through trauma, especially as a young child, either that or their parents. So um, from my experience as I've been working as an advocate, as I've been working with different organizations, trauma is trauma is trauma. Um, and I think that's one thing is people like to brush it under the rug. They like to think that their trauma is completely invalid. Um, I think people who feel like they're embarrassed of some of their feelings, it's going to appeal to them, but primarily those who have lost loved ones, especially as a young child. So, or
Hmm.
their parents who are wondering, what do I do with this little kid? I want to honor their dad or their mom or their sibling for them, but they don't have any memories. How do I help this? How do I help this child? And so, those who have kids who are grieving is, I think that's going to be a big part of my audience. So,
Were there any real life events or people in Arlington that influenced the story's development?
oh yeah, there's several, and I mean, I can touch on a few. Um, I mean, my mom. That sounds kind of like generic. Well, yeah, thanks, mom. No, she, the way she raised me made
Hmm.
this whole thing possible. Where she talked openly about the fact that my dad was murdered from the time I was a little kid. She was very honest, and she also, I grew up in a very religious family, and she blessed me with the foundation that you're going to see your daddy again someday. He's real. He still loves you. So he was a big one. There's another step. Another big part of the book goes into how I was given validation when I was 30 years old that I actually had the right to miss my dad and that I had the right to find out what happened. And that sounds really funny, but it's like, even in today's society, so many people, grief is such a ugly, uncomfortable topic. I mean, I hate it. I don't like it, but it's just, it seems like something where it's like, okay, they died. All right, 2 months later, um, move on. They'd want you to, and they do, you live your life and things like that, but it doesn't mean burying them twice. So I grew up with that whole, I don't have the right to miss him. I don't have the right to remember him. I didn't remember the knock at the door. And then I had a guy that I went out with who was just like, he had just lost his mom. And he's like, you have every right to miss your dad. You have every right to know what happened to your dad. He's like, I don't have memories of my mom, or I have memories of my mom. He's like, but you don't have any memories of your dad, therefore you have every right to grieve. So once that happened, and I felt that like it's okay, it's acceptable to actually learn more, I actually did my own digging because the Navy is very, again, for a reason, they're very protective with their information, but to an extreme in my family's case. And so I did a lot of digging, a lot of researching. And so to answer your question, I mean, were there people in Arlington who helped me along the way? My dad's shipmates. I did a I reached it out. I was able to connect with several of them who still to this day are very much cheering me on. And I mean, they told me I had a better idea of who my dad was. And they also kind of explained how the Navy worked and what was going on. And without them, I would not have gotten the results that I have, that I was able to. So
Miss Alicia, does the book explore themes of personal transformation or healing, similar
Absolutely.
to your earlier works?
Absolutely. Big time.
Uh, can you share a chapter of Angel in Arlington talking about healing?
Um, I'm trying to think of which one. What would There's several different levels. The beginning of the book in itself is stepping into it, where that that friend, that guy I went out with, encouraged me to open that door to healing. I think that's a big one. That's one level. And then there's a couple other chapters where it's like I kind of picture it like climbing a mountain, and so there are a few different peaks in there. Um, there's one point towards the middle of the book where, and I need to be a little bit more. I can't go into detail, but there was a big turning point where I had to decide if I was going to continue on with the pursuit for justice or if I was going to be satisfied with the information that I had. And so that's a big one where, and I'm not saying it's different for everybody, but I think there comes a time in people's lives where it's just like, all right, am I going to just let this go and move forward? Or is there something that I need to continue to do? And I think one of the messages in my book is it's kind of it's a very fine line. It's kind of walking the tightrope where um you don't want to take it too far, but at the same time you don't want to give up before you're done. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes
And
sense.
you'll have pressure on all sides. I mean, I just knew even my dad's shipmates who had become like, father figures to me, like really, really close friends. They're like, when are you going to stop? And I just knew in my gut, it's like, it's not time yet. And I'm grateful that I didn't stop because, I did get my answers. I got almost every single detail. I found out why I found out what. And I was able to bring peace and justice to my family. I mean, one thing I will tell you is my co-author and I, while we were in the middle of writing the book, she actually interviewed my dad's killer. We were able to track down my dad's killer, and she interviewed him. He was at large, and she got his side of the story. And that's something, oh, you better believe I had opposition from my family. Nobody wanted me to do that. And yet I'm very grateful that we're able to do that.
What role does hope of redemption play in the narrative of Angel in Arlington?
Knowing that it's possible and knowing that there are people out there. One thing that I learned along the way is that, like, you see the government, you see political figures, things like that, people working in the government as usually against us kind of thing. I think that's kind of a easy thing to feel. Is it's like it's against them sort of. But from my experience, I mean, yes, there are some that are very much like stonewalling. I experienced that like crazy. But then there are those that are really there to serve. They're there because they care about people. They're there because they want to help. And I came across people like that. And so where your question is like, where does like the narrative hope? Just knowing that if you keep getting no's, keep asking because there are yeses out there. And I truly believe that if your intent is if you've got a good heart, if your intent is in the right place, I do believe that there are people that can help you to come to a level of peace. And I think that that is the biggest thing that we hope for. It doesn't, I mean, I'm not saying who knows what the answer is for everybody else, it's different for everybody. But knowing that by having the courage to continue to move forward, doors are going to be open. You just might not know what that looks like.
Miss Alicia, as an author or as upcoming author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Short term, find an agent and a publisher. Long term, continue to work with this, continue to build my website, to continue to connect with people and be a resource for those who might not know where to turn, to those who are grieving, to those who have kids that are just like, what in the world do I need to, what can I do to help my child? So I want people to know that they have the right to that connection and that miracles can happen. I want them to know that I want them to see my story and to be able to bring peace for themselves. But I want it to get out there. Like I want people to know who Bert Johnson was, my father. I want them to be able to know what he stood for. I want them to be able to know that peace is available and that they have the right to connect, to help build that peace and to heal.
Miss Alicia, what would be your uh, recommendation for those people out there who want to be an author like you? And good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success.
Thank you. It's my advice for people who are wanting to write, oh my gosh. For one thing, don't question yourself, just start. Um, I could is it okay if I kind of throw out a recommendation for a mentor that I absolutely love? Um, her name is M. Bridget Cook Birch. Yourinspiredstory.com. She offers free resources. She's my co-author, and she is, I've been a good writer my whole life. I got A's on all my papers, everything like that. I was very proud of my writing, and I met her, and she taught me what real writing really was and how to shorten the process and everything. And yes, it's ours has taken a little bit longer because my book has been like happening while we've been writing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say find a good mentor, a good one with like good credentials, recommendations, somebody who can kind of help you, especially when you're writing a memoir. Like it helps to have an outsider's perspective to help you know what is really pertinent, what is really interesting. Because you're like, "Hi, let me share my life." And you don't you can trust yourself to an extent, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
definitely. And thank you for that advice, Miss Alicia. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
one is actually one of my co-authors. It's called The Witness Were Red by Bridget Cook and Rebecca Musser. And there was another one, Left to Tell by Mekule. I can't pronounce her last name. Those are two powerful books that really inspired me. So
Yes. Thank you for that recommendation, Miss Alicia. And how do you hope readers will feel after finishing Angel in Arlington once it will publish?
I hope they feel empowered and I hope that they feel happy. I hope that they feel like I hope they feel the triumph that I did, that was served and that is attainable. I want them to feel hope, happy, and empowered.
Mm. Looking for that book, Miss Alicia. Looking forward to it.
Me too.
And were there any specific writing techniques or styles you use to bring the story to life?
Um, one thing that Bridget always says is there's well two things. Write the outline and then just go in and just be messy. Let your right brain go crazy and then use your left brain to clean it up. And also don't be afraid to show the story in some places. You can tell the story in some places, but make sure that you show the story in others. So,
Miss Alicia, does Angel in Arlington address any societal issues such as community, identity, or personal growth?
oh, sorry.
Does Angel in Arlington address any
Oh,
societal issues such as community, identity, or personal growth?
absolutely, all three. It's personal growth, big time society and grief, big time, definitely.
So,
It,
can you share that specific chapter where we can say personal growth or identity or community itself?
um, I'm trying to look back through the chapters. Um, it's been finished for a little while. It's been finished for over a year. Um, I can tell you different sections of the book. I have a chapter on my website. It's called Weghorst Hasn't Handled It Well. So you can look on angelinarlington.com and download that chapter to get a taste for it. Um, but like I was saying earlier, there are a couple different points where the first one is in the beginning where it's just like personal growth and society, like the battle between society and personal growth, where I broke that and was able to leave society norms and step into personal growth is at the beginning where I'm like, okay, you know what? Tired of being afraid of my feelings. I'm tired of being afraid and embarrassed for acting like my dad's death didn't hasn't impacted my life. And I dug in and started the research. So that's right at the beginning. And then towards the middle, where I just had a really powerful experience and, a letdown in a sense, and a lot of opposition. And I decided to continue to move forward with it. It was a very it was a turning point.
Miss Alicia, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please to listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love
Wow.
letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in its fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Alicia, what's next for you after Angel in Arlington? Are there more stories or you're eager to tell?
Most definitely more stories. Right now, I mean, there's just so many things that can branch off. I've got another website, unlikelycourage.com. So I'm going to continue my advocacy. And um, I mean, I've been told I had roommates for years. I got married when I was in my 40s. So I've had, I mean, maybe some that aren't quite as heavy, but also there could potentially be a book that goes a little bit deeper into healing, kind of like a workbook or something. And it's still in the works, but Angel in Arlington is not the end for sure. So
Miss Allicia Johnson Niles, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support your upcoming book or your memoir to the world, Angel in Arlington?
mhm. Oh, where to find it? Angelinarlington.com. And yeah, if you've got any, we're looking for an agent and a publisher. we're we're open. So
Yes, people, let's support Miss Allicia Johnson Niles because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering books to come. So, Miss Alicia, thank you so much for your time.
thank you so much, Daniel. It's such a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you.
More to come, people. See you soon.